Now, a trick here on how you can halve the size of your losses, which is going to directly double the size of your wins. So the next time you come to a trade, if you had a half loss, the next one will be twice as big. So this is a cool little trick here. This is by no means going to happen every opportunity. You're not going to get an opportunity to do this in every trade you take. It's not going to be too common, and it only applies when you're using the stop loss in the scenario 2, where the trade has broken out of the zone. And so just show you, so your stop was below the rejection candle like that. It only works in this scenario. You'll see why in a second. So say your TP was up there. Now, so say you took this trade, price rejected the zone on the 5 minute. So this is on the 5 minute, remember? So price rejected the zone on the 5 minute. It's a clear rejection and buy there. So what the point of this halving your losses is that, here's how it works. So if we get a 5 minute candle that then closes below this zone here, we then close out the trade, because that means that this zone here is no longer valid because we've broken below it. So the whole bias and the whole point we took this trade was because we rejected this zone. So if we get a close below the zone and we invalidate this zone, then there's no point being in the trade anymore. And it just gives us an opportunity to completely cut the size of the loss. So managing trades is super, super important to your success as a trader. It's one of the most important things on how you actually manage a trade once you're in it, so you can reduce the size of your losses and maximize your wins. So for this example, I'll show you it. This wasn't an actual valid trade, by the way. I'm just showing this as an example. I think this was in, yeah, this was an Asian session. I'm just showing this as an example of price action because this is a perfect example of it. So knowing what I said, if we get closed below the zone, we're closing the trade out. What do you know? The next candle closes below the zone, meaning price has broken below the zone and it's not rejecting it anymore. And you can see that that point there is half the size of the stop. So from there, you can then close out at that point. So you've closed out there. When you bear in mind the stop looks like that. The stop before, if we go back, looked like that. And then what happened? Because price closed below it, invalidated the zone, the next candles just push straight through and hit your stop loss. So you could have got out there and halved the size of your stop loss because you had to know that price invalidated this zone. So the trade was no longer with our bias. The trade was no longer a valid buying opportunity once this zone had been rejected because the 5 minute closed below. So the main point, once the 5 minute closes out of the zone, you can then close out your trade, completely minimizing the size of your loss. Now I'm going to show you a live example of this from last week on GJ. So it was an example on the 15 minute. You can do this on any time frame. You've just got to be watching the 5 minute because it will be most happen on there. So this was a 15-minute example that I'm going to show on GJ right now. Today, what actually happened, one of the things I mentioned looking for was an Asia low to be created, then a bounce off of that Asia low. And look what we actually got. So this is a nice opportunity right here for me to show you something. So say you bought from that right there, whether you did or not, I mean, it's kind of up to you. I mean, that is a huge stop loss, 45 pips for a stop. Some people will be thinking that's too much and they don't want that. But then saying that, you could have got a 1 to 2 risk reward out of it. So if you did end up taking that, personally, I didn't end up taking this because I'm not trading London session at the moment. I'm trading US. But if you did end up taking that based off of that rejection candle right there, then there's actually something nice that I can show you. Firstly, what happened is that we already had the high for the current London session there at 8 a.m. throw on the 5 minute. We already had that high. And what happened is that price tapped into that high and then rejected. So how many pips actually was that from? So that was a whole 40 pips. You'd been 40 pips in profit by the time price reached that high. So there was a good chance you would have gone break even at that point, or you probably should have gone breaking even at that point. But if you didn't, I'm not sure why it's disappeared there, but if you didn't, so you should have been break even at that point. If you didn't, say start with there, then once this 15-minute candle right here closed below Asia low, you could have got out for half your stop loss. It's even less than half your stop loss. So that's 18 pips. So that is way less than half of your stop. So you could have took a small loss on there by managing the trade properly. Then you could have got a half a loss on there, which just means that your next win is going to be twice as big. So a very nice one here on how you can manage your trades to make your trades even bigger by cutting your trades in half.